Self-sabotage often protects against a feared outcome. One ordinary version is someone delays submitting an application so rejection can be blamed on timing. The mechanism is that the mind chooses a controllable excuse over a painful test. The practical effect is failure feels less personal when effort was not fully given. Success can feel unfamiliar. Consider a person used to chaos may feel anxious when life becomes stable. The hidden part is that the nervous system trusts what it knows, not always what is healthy. The outcome is often that progress can trigger discomfort instead of relief. Low self-worth creates hidden limits. The pattern shows up when someone turns down an opportunity because they assume they do not belong. The moving force is that identity sets expectations for what feels possible. The risk is that people may reject chances that conflict with their self-image. Fear of judgment encourages avoidance. In a daily situation, a singer skips auditions after imagining criticism. The link is that public evaluation threatens belonging and pride. Once that link matters, avoiding the attempt prevents feedback but also blocks growth. Perfectionism can become sabotage. The clearest example is a writer keeps revising until the deadline passes. The explanation starts with the standard becomes so high that finishing feels unsafe. The consequence is the project fails without ever being judged. Short-term relief reinforces the pattern. For example, canceling a difficult conversation feels calming immediately. The reason is that the brain rewards escape from discomfort. That can mean the same avoidance becomes more tempting next time. Some people test whether good things will stay. In real life, a partner starts conflict after feeling loved. The pressure comes from this. Old abandonment fears can make calm intimacy feel suspicious. The result can be the test may damage the connection it was meant to verify. Sabotage can look like bad timing. Think of someone starts a new goal and suddenly overcommits elsewhere. The process works because distraction protects the old identity. Over time, busy schedules can hide fear of focused effort. Negative labels become instructions. A simple case is this. A person called irresponsible may act careless before trying to change. The important driver is that labels shape expectation and behavior. That is why the old story becomes clearer to repeat than challenge. Comfort zones are emotional zones. You might see it when a better job may require new confidence, habits, and visibility. What matters underneath is that change threatens familiar coping patterns. If it is ignored, people may choose familiar disappointment over unfamiliar responsibility. Self-sabotage often appears near important moments. One ordinary version is arguments, missed deadlines, overspending, and disappearing can spike before progress. The mechanism is that high stakes increase internal pressure. The practical effect is the mind tries to return to a known level of safety. Awareness starts with pattern tracking. Consider someone notices they quit every course after the first hard assignment. The hidden part is that specific timing reveals the trigger. The outcome is often that the behavior becomes clearer to interrupt when its usual doorway is known. Replacement matters more than willpower. The pattern shows up when instead of disappearing, a person can send a simple message asking for time. The moving force is that new behavior gives the brain another route to safety. The risk is that removing sabotage without a substitute leaves stress unmanaged. Small promises rebuild trust with yourself. In a daily situation, finishing a 10-minute task can matter more than dramatic motivation. The link is that kept promises challenge the old identity. Once that link matters, confidence grows from evidence, not slogans. Support reduces secrecy. The clearest example is telling a friend about the pattern makes avoidance harder to hide. The explanation starts with safe accountability interrupts automatic retreat. The consequence is people often change faster when shame is not carrying the whole burden. Self-sabotage is not proof of laziness. For example, it is often a protective habit built around fear, shame, or unfamiliar success. The reason is that the behavior may be harmful while the original purpose was protection. That can mean understanding that difference makes change less punishing. The key question is what the behavior prevents. In real life, procrastination may prevent criticism, conflict may prevent closeness, spending may prevent emptiness. The pressure comes from this. The payoff is usually emotional. The result can be finding the payoff reveals what needs healthier care. Progress feels strange before it feels normal. Think of a person may feel exposed when they finally act consistently. The process works because identity needs time to catch up with behavior. Over time, discomfort does not always mean the new path is wrong. Repair is possible after sabotage. A simple case is this: apologizing, restarting, asking for help, and adjusting the environment can reopen a path. The important driver is that one bad episode does not cancel the entire direction. That is why the pattern weakens when recovery becomes faster. Self-sabotage often looks like laziness from the outside, but inside it may be protection. A person delays applying for a job because rejection would hurt. Another starts a fight before a partner can get too close. Someone quits a project just when it begins to matter. In each case, the behavior creates a problem, but it also prevents a scarier feeling: exposure, failure, dependence, or being judged. The tricky part is that self-sabotage can bring short-term relief. Avoiding the application removes the fear of rejection for today. Starting the argument creates distance before vulnerability feels too intense. Missing the deadline gives the person an excuse. Maybe it failed because they did not try fully. The cost arrives later, when the same protective move keeps shrinking the life they say they want. One useful question is, what feeling does this behavior help me avoid? The answer might be shame, boredom, pressure, intimacy, responsibility, or the fear of success. Success can be frightening because it creates expectations. Closeness can be frightening because it creates dependence. Progress can be frightening because it removes the excuse that nothing has changed yet. The sabotage makes more sense when the avoided feeling is named. Breaking self-sabotage does not usually start with a dramatic transformation. It starts with making the next protective move less automatic. Send the application before the fear becomes a debate. Tell your partner you feel exposed instead of picking a fight. Work for 20 minutes before deciding the project is impossible. Small interruptions matter because sabotage often wins by acting before reflection catches up. The point is not to blame yourself for every blocked opportunity. Self-sabotage usually began as a way to reduce pain. But a strategy that once protected you can later trap you. When you notice the pattern, you can ask whether the old protection still fits the life you are trying to build. That question turns self-sabotage from a mysterious weakness into a pattern that can be interrupted. The pattern becomes easier to interrupt when you catch the protective moment early. The delay, the fight, the excuse, or the sudden urge to quit right before the work begins to matter. The strongest progress may look small from outside, but it is powerful when the person chooses one honest action instead of repeating the old protective escape.